Hello, hello there. How are you? Are you still sleeping? Yes, perfect. Have you taken the coffee already, or you have to take there is the bar upstairs if you want a coffee. Have you arrived today? Someone has arrived today? No, all of you are here from yesterday. Perfect. Have you enjoyed yesterday's sessions? Okay, you're still sleeping, perfect. What have you done tonight, yesterday night? Fiorentina? With Fiorentina? No one? Ribollita? Both. Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I take the Fiorentina one yesterday because I'm from Verona and I would like to eat it as I am here. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Davide Imola. I'm one of the organizers of Schrödinger Hut community. And today I'm your MC for the morning sessions of this room. Of course, as yesterday, you are free to change the rooms whenever you want and see all the talks that we have today. But if you are here now, I think you are interested in the talk of Maciek. Perfect.
Hello.
Two little things that I want to share with you. First, we have hidden a few Easter eggs. They're not real Easter eggs because they are so huge and you can find it easily. Tiny little post-its you can find that are hidden around here or in all the rooms in this floor. And if you find a sticker, this sticker, you can bring it to one of the staff and you can win something special, this t-shirt. So if you found a ticket, bring it to us and you have a t-shirt for free. Are you happy?
Yes.
More. Young. Perfect. Other things. Of course, today is the 8th of March. So happy International Women's Day to all of you, because for the online friends and also for the ones in this room. Of course, for the online person that can see, there is plenty of women inside this room. Only one. But it's fine. It's still happy Women's Day. I'm going to say the agenda, the morning agenda. We'll start with Maciek. Is the headless architecture really the future for CMS? After it, there is Graziano Casto with the practical policy as code with OPA and managed sidecar container. And after it, Pauline Sonia with from smart home to smart cats. I think this cat, extending my home automation to my pets. So, without further ado, I want to introduce you for the first talk of this day with our speaker, why the anchor is not working. Lower. I don't know why the anchor is not working.
Still lower. I'm near the end if I remember.
Still, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, we have a lot of speakers as you see.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So I know his name, I think.
Yes,
but
he does. He even knows how to pronounce it. It's really not an easy skill.
Okay. But I don't remember his job position. So his name is Maciek Palmowski. He is a senior community manager at PatchStack. And his talk is about WordPress.
Not only.
More or less.
Only in 30.
For me. But is the headless architecture really the future for CMS? But before, you said me that you have one strong passion.
I mean, I have more of strong passions, but this is, I think, the strongest. Coffee.
Yeah, coffee is the thing that you didn't take today because you are still sleeping. And
you should-
I want
you
to
should
ask
drink
him,
more.
because we are in Italy, yeah. Have you loved Italian coffee?
Well, it's a bit more complicated, but I can tell that the best roastery is in Italy. It's called Gardelli. I'm a huge fan. I still think it's the best coffee in the world. And when it comes to, let's say, everyday coffee, I must say that Italy is the best when it comes to hardware. When it comes to coffee, yeah, it's more complicated.
Okay, you can find somewhere else. I'm beating him.
In the dark corner.
I haven't said nothing. So, without further ado, please welcome Maciek and give him a round of applause.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here. It's my first time in Italy and I'm really loving it. So I really hope that I will be here next year, maybe even again as an MC, because why not? But now I will talk about headless, about CMSs, about the whole architecture, and how do I see it? Is it really the future or maybe not? This is a small proof that the person saying that he's Maciek Palmowski is Maciek Palmowski, so that's me. Like mentioned, I work at PatchStack. If you want to contact me, here's my email, so feel free. But let's talk headless, because this is why you are here. That's why you woke up so early. This is also the reason why I woke so early, because I have to talk about it, right? So let's start with the definition. I'm almost certain that most of you already know what headless is, but I want to be sure that we are all on the same page, that we defined it in a similar way. So before we talk about headless, we have to talk about the monolith. So when we talk about the monolith, and I will tell from the perspective of CMSs. So imagine that we have an application that takes care of two things. First of all, the lower part, the admin panel. Thanks to this, we can manage our data. We can add posts, add pages, add some taxonomies, whatever. And so thanks to this admin panel, we can manage the data. On top of this admin panel, there is a tightly coupled front end that just shows the data that we just entered into our admin panel. So for example, the things that WordPress does, StateMic does, Drupal, and many others. When we talk about headless, we still have our admin panel where we add all the data, edit it, and manage our media. But the front end isn't coupled with it. It's a totally separate application. Looking at the current trends, in most cases, we will be talking about some cool and trendy JavaScript framework. You know, like Nux, like Astro, maybe Gatsby. Okay, it's not trendy anymore, but you know. But they have to talk with each other in some way. So they need an API. So they can use either a REST API, maybe a GraphQL API, or maybe some other weird method that we just invented just to make them talk with each other. That doesn't matter. What's important is that they are talking with each other. But there is one problem with this example. I mean, technically, it's perfectly correct. But the first time when I saw it, when I started reading about headless, about decoupled, I was like, this is headless? It looks like a monolith with few extra steps, because really this simple example is in a way horrible. Because like I said, technically it's correct, but it doesn't show any advantages of headless, because like I said, there are just a few extra steps to have almost the exact same result that we had with the monolith. But the truth is that headless starts to shine. Maybe I'll move around a bit, it will be funnier. Headless starts to shine a bit when we have some more advanced examples. For example, like this. So imagine we have one CMS that manages not only our main website. Part of the content from the CMS is also in our mobile app. Also, we have a huge collection of landing pages. And every time when we will change something in the About section, it will change on every website that is connected with the CMS. So the management of it it's much easier. But also, let's turn it a bit around. So let's imagine that our website is a hub that connects our CMS, because the whole blog is from, let's say, WordPress. We have some weird database of, let's say, our public speeches that we, for a reason, keep in Notion, because why not? It has an API. And we have a CRM that we want some data to also show up on the front end. And our website is getting all the data from all those sources. And none of those sources is a priority, right? So all of them are equal. Also, I think you can imagine when we will connect both of the scenarios and we'll start creating this humongous web of connections, with some pages being hubs, some being more of the central points. So this can be headless. Oh, and we are talking about headless and monolith, but there are also CMSs that can be hybrid, because if we look at WordPress, if we look at Drupal, StateMake, they are monolith by nature, but they have a REST API, so they can do both at the same time. Okay, but why at some point the whole hype started? Because there was a moment when everyone was like talking only about headless, about Gatsby, especially in the WordPress world, because it all exploded with Gatsby. So I think that the reason was quite simple: money. Because there was kind of a status quo on the market when it comes to hosting, when it comes to CMS, when it comes to everything. And the moment when Gatsby started, something moved, something changed. Venture capital started investing in everything that had headless in it, and then started appearing Netlify, Vercel, Next, Astros, Nukes, everything. Everything started appearing, and because they had a lot of budget, they were able to sponsor a lot of events, a lot of articles, and at some point when you were reading all those technical blogs, you could find something like this. What is headless WordPress and why should you use it? Netlify, top reasons to go headless, performance, security, and things like that. Top 5 reasons to go headless, again, performance, security, and so on. Headless architecture, what is it and why is it the future? So you kind of see the agenda, right? Headless is amazing. At least this is what they were trying to tell us. But is it? Because the arguments that we could hear all the time were quite similar. I just want to say that I see a friend with a beautiful hoodie, and I also approve the spaghetti flying monster. Kudos. Ramen, I mean. Okay, so they were trying to say that headless provides some features that monolith CMSs just aren't capable of. And I will go with few of the most popular ones, and I will try to discuss if they were really that true. So for example, the main thing, go headless, because it's more performant, right? And as proof, especially at the beginning, we could see all those screenshots from Google PageSpeed when people converted their blogs into Gatsby and they were saying, hey, I have 100%, everything is green, everything is amazing, all thanks to headless. But that's not true. In most cases, they were so performant because they were converted into static. But you don't have to change architecture. You don't have to rebuild your website into those JSXs, into those JS frameworks and everything, just to convert website into static. You can do it with a library, because most of the CMSs have a thing like this. WordPress has WP2 static. StateMake has the SSG library. Kirby has one. Drupal, everyone has one. And it will just save page after page to HTML without spending time into rebuilding this into some framework and learning sometimes new language, learning new quirks that comes with it. Also, let's remember, even if we'll go with server-side rendering and we will be constantly asking the API, it's not that API are in some magical way more performant than a normal query to a database. I mean, sometimes they might be, but because we are asking for a better query, or we are just asking for more data. But it's not magic, it's just the fact that finally we started asking our website the right questions and not ask for a lot of data that we didn't use. So, and I'm not saying that headless is less performant. It's just the same, because in most cases we are using the same data source. So, in short, it's not more performant just by nature. Another thing, security and maintenance. I come from the WordPress environment, so I know a lot about security problems and maintenance problems, because it can be a hassle. So when I started reading that headless might solve these problems, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Because the performance, I knew that it wasn't that simple, but this maintenance, okay, I'm interested. But again, static helps. It's quite difficult to hack HTML, right? I mean, until you don't have direct access to FTP or something like this, it's quite difficult. There are much less attack vectors. So in general, static is safer. But as we already know, we don't need headless to get to be static. But on the other hand, even if we are converting our CMS to static, there still has to be a CMS somewhere. And we still have to maintain it. We still have to take care of it. In short, nothing changes. Also, I saw you those beautiful screens at the beginning when you start creating this beautiful web of connections, because headless is very often about using third-party tools, connecting one things with each other. It's really great in some cases, but you have to maintain it. You have to connect it. You have to keep all those API keys safe. So there are a lot of different ways how it can be unsecure. That said, security in maintenance with headless still exists. It's just different. Simplicity. This is again, because with headless it should be simple. You just get the API, connect it with this cool-looking JS front end. It's simple, right? So, not quite. Because first of all, if we went static, we have to rebuild the website each time. This is something when we are using a monolith doesn't exist. We just press the button update, ta-dam, we have the content. It's that simple, it's that easy. And going this way, we have to have a CI/CD somewhere. Sometimes it's built into our hosting, like Netlify does, or for example, like Kinsta static site, because they also have it. But if you don't use it, you have to have all those hooks, a whole pipeline, everything. Is it simple? I mean, at some point, yeah, because it is. It's not some rocket science. But you have to do it. Also, there is another aspect. When every time when someone says it's easy, you will just connect the API with the front end. But there is a huge chance that one of the add-ons that you are using, one of the plugins, doesn't have an endpoint for the API you are using. Like in WordPress, it's a common thing that while the REST APIs are almost in every plugin, in every popular plugin, the GraphQL plugins, the GraphQL endpoints aren't that obvious. And very often you will end writing a lot of code to have this simple flow. And it's not that simple at this point when you are starting writing your own stuff. But don't think of me about that I am some sort of headless hater, because I do enjoy it, and in some cases I think it's amazing. And it has a lot of pros. And there are some true reasons why we should give it a try. First of all, headless gives an amazing freedom, because right now we are kind of slaves of the technology that our CMS is using. So if we are using WordPress, yeah, we have to go with PHP. If we are using Ghost, Ghost is using Node, if I remember. We'll go with StateMic, yeah, we have to deep dive into Laravel. And so on and so on. With headless, it's cool. We can have our WordPress connected with our beautiful and trendy Rust front end. We can. I'm not saying that it's a good solution, but we can. There is, we can separate the technology used on the front end and the back end entirely. It's a huge thing. Another thing about headless that is really cool is their approach that we can quite easily change the parts in it. As I showed in the screen in the beginning, we are using WordPress as a CMS at the beginning. Yeah, that's cool, but we learned that something else is even better for our team, that they would prefer to use Webflow. Let's say they want to use Webflow. Okay, so let's change it, because why not? We can. It won't affect the rest of the application. This part is cool. On the other hand, imagine trying to change the database engine inside of your CMS. I mean, in some of it, it's quite easy. For example, if you are using StateMig, because Laravel is quite simple and when it comes to transforming one database type to another. But switching to Postgres in WordPress, I'm not even sure it's possible. Scalability. This is also a very interesting aspect. And again, CMS differ. So some CMS by nature are more scalable than others. But especially if we look at those older CMSs, WordPress, Drupal, Joomla. Is someone using Joomla still? Good answer. Perfect answer, really. But thanks to headless and the fact that we can divide our application into, let's call it sub-applications. So we have blog here, someone as another application. Scalability is much more flexible. Also, many JavaScript frameworks give us different types of how we render content. We can change some part of our website to be static. Only parts of it will be dynamic. So we have much more opportunities to scale our application. It doesn't mean that like I said, it doesn't mean that it's more performant, but it's easier for us to grow it. Developer experience. This is one of the most amazing things about headless, because again, if we'll go back to the WordPress example or Joomla example, because it's even worse. No, let's say with WordPress. WordPress gives us a great user experience. I mean, most of people who are using WordPress are used to it, understand how it works, so they would like to still use it. For many developers, working with WordPress is a nightmare, and they would do everything not to use it. Thanks to headless, we can have both. So we can have our new shiny framework. We can have Astro on the front end, right? It can be amazing. How many of you are using Astro? Carlo, you have to do your thing. Yeah. But our users will still have WordPress on the end. So for them, the experience won't change. It's a win-win situation. But there are a few, if you decide that, yeah, maybe let's think about this headless, there are some things about which we have to remember. First of all, and this is the most important part, remember, it's just an architecture. It's not good nor bad. It will depend on many things. So if someone tells you, go headless because it's better, no, it's not. By nature, it's not. In your case, maybe with your team, with your application, yes, but by nature, it's just an architecture. When we'll have the more complicated stack, it's better to introduce headless that way, because in those obvious cases, the only group that I think could be interested in introducing headless into their simple blog is, well, us. Because we like to play with new shiny toys and we get bored quite quickly, so we would like to introduce things like this. But in general, in most cases, the moment when you have a bigger team, when you have, when your team differs when it comes to technology they used, yeah, those are the moments when thinking about headless, those microservices, things like this. This is the moment when it's worth to start thinking about it. And this is also a very important aspect about which we often forget. Because we look at CMSs as piece of code that we have to add features, we have to maintain, and that's it. Because in most cases, we don't work using the CMS. I mean, I worked millions of lines for WordPress just to realize I almost never use it. And this is also a very important thing sometimes about introducing headless, because thanks to headless, we can keep the experience for our users the same as it was. So they will still have their favorite CMS. But on the other hand, we also have to remember that sometimes by introducing headless, by introducing some small changes, like for example, the build step, it changes the experience for them. So we always have to, while doing any change with our CMS, we have to think about them, because they are using it much more often than us. So, do you think headless is the future? How many think that it is the future? One? Okay, how many that it's not the future? And how many are for the it depends? Exactly, it depends. It's the best. I mean, first of all, I'm not that arrogant to say that, yeah, headless is the future or it isn't the future. Because it all depends on you, on your company, on your application, on your user. I don't think I will manage talking for 10 minutes. I'm finishing. On your application, on your work style, on many things. This is something you have to think about. You have to be the judge. Is it a good idea to try it? The cool part about headless, you can introduce it kind of gradually. So you can see if it works, or maybe it's just an extra step for many users and it becomes problematic. But it may turn out that it's a huge success in your case. But the fact that so many companies are using it, like Facebook, Google, because they are using all those headless microservice architectures all the time, doesn't mean that it will also work that perfectly in our case. And that said, I want to say thank you. It was a pleasure speaking here. If you want to not only listen about me talking about headless, but if you want to read about it, I have a newsletter. It would be nice if you subscribed. I write about this headless part from time to time. And so, are there any questions?
Thank you, Maciek. Thank you. Thank you.